Meet one of our ocean's top predators, the southern bluefin tuna. Sleek and fast like a Ferrari, they're also extremely aggressive feeders to the point of cannibalism. And I'm right in the middle of a bluefin feeding frenzy. It might look crazy, but it's all in the name of science. You see, the southern bluefin tuna is endangered after being heavily overfished commercially. So Clean Seas Tuna here in South Australia is now capturing the southern bluefin in order to save it. For over a decade, Clean Seas has been working towards the holy grail of commercial fish breeding, closing the life cycle of the southern bluefin tuna. That means breeding them from larvae right through to these big monsters swimming in this cage right here. And they're pretty close to achieving this world first. The biggest breakthroughs happen here on land. This is Clean Sea's 400-hectare facility on the shores of Arno Bay. It's a high-security site because the work on the southern bluefin is still extremely confidential, so we're privileged to be here. First stop, the massive tuna breeding tank. These southern bluefin were caught in the wild and kept in offshore cages for about 8 years until they were sexually mature. Then, in a world first, Clean Seas successfully relocated the breeders to this indoor tank.
This is the only land-based facility in the world where southern bluefin tuna are actually breeding in captivity. And the noise you can hear is the pump filtering through about 3 million litres of water. And the tuna swimming around in this tank are between 90 and 150 kilos in weight. They are enormous.
In the wild, southern bluefin move from the cold water of southern Australia to spawn in warmer waters off WA. So scientists had to recreate that here. One of the key aspects in getting fish to breed in captivity is to simulate their natural spawning conditions. And so parameters such as light and temperature levels have to be bang on. And it must be working. Earlier this year, these tuna spawned in captivity for the first time, releasing fertilized eggs which grew into larvae. It's something aquaculture companies around the world have been attempting for years.
Everyone else that's tried to do the tuna around the world, in Japan, in the Mediterranean as well, they have positioned themselves with sea cages in an area where they are close to the natural spawning grounds. We have access to the fish, but we aren't close to the spawning grounds. So for us to be able to do it down here, we've had to build a facility like this where we can basically expose the fish to the temperature and light, cues that would be present on the spawning grounds in the northwest of Western Australia, but we're doing it all inside, so we've got complete control. We have heaters, we have chillers, we can manipulate the temperature and do it precisely every year, so we should have a constant supply of eggs.
Those first larvae only reached 10 days old. The next big hurdle is to grow the tuna to fingerling size, like these captive-bred kingfish.
My belief is we're 2/3 of the way through the southern bluefin tuna spawning process, and there isn't that much to do. Fingerlings are the next step for us, and then from fingerlings, we'll put those fingerlings into sea cages, and then we will on-grow those southern bluefin tuna. We will get them to a marketable size, and we'll sell them into various markets around the world.
Southern bluefin tuna is in big demand as one of the world's top eating fish. Thousands of tons are still caught in the wild every year for the commercial market. They're fattened up in offshore cages for about 6 months. Then in winter, they're harvested carefully by hand, with divers wrestling them into a fish lifter and onto the tuna boats. The fish are processed and sent to lucrative markets like Japan for sashimi. But if Clean Seas can breed southern bluefin from scratch, these wild tuna can be left alone to flourish. They've already done it with kingfish. These kingies were bred totally in captivity, and they're already producing the next generation.
The hope is that the southern bluefin tuna will soon follow suit. And if that happens, their current catch could double within the decade, without even touching the wild tuna stocks. And that is fabulous news for this endangered species.
You can learn more about this cutting-edge research on the Clean Seas Tuna website. The Southern Bluefin Breeding Program is one of the many projects helped by the Fisheries Research and Development Corporation. Go to frdc.com.au for details. And we brave the southern seas with the help of Port Lincoln Diving Services. Give them a call for your diving gear.